So we back. Exotic lifestyles. Like, share, subscribe. So I woke up this morning and I seen this and I had to make this video. I want to shout out MOBB podcast for making this video on my dog, Cashville landlord, Dodge City landlord. If y'all do not know who this dude is, R.I.P Cleveland, then you're nobody. You not plugged in. You ain't a boss. You're not Cashville if you don't know Cleveland Landlord Shop. Shout out to MOBB for making this video on my nigga. You was a real nigga for this one, MOBB. R.I.P Cleveland. Let's get it.
Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank with the action. With the Vato speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby Maine. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
He was. I did see that part of the movie where they said, "Well, damn, we having a problem. It's not moving that. They're not moving that good no more." And the Flintstones had knocked y'all out. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the only reason I was in Detroit for a minute, it was to help my brother and then put the other crew down. You know what I'm saying? I had like 20 guys that I was putting down, you know, around the city. I wasn't really in Detroit that much. I was in Nashville, a place called Dodge City. Now, if you know about Dodge City was something like the Brewster Projects back in the days. But worse. Them country motherfuckers are way worse than we here when it comes to doing shit.
Police scared to go in Dodge City. 615, stand up. Cashville, stand
911,
up.
what's the address of your emergency?
Please, can y'all please get the Dodge City, please?
With all of the hallmarks of a memorial worthy for a gang leader.
Bus mine. Got that video in front.
All that. Out of microwave.
Stain. That parking lot packed like that for real. If you don't know about that Dodge City parking lot, y'all is playing.
But this celebration was held for Cleveland Shaw, a known violence interrupter for Gideon's Army, a community-based organization focused on reducing violence and supporting at-risk youth in Cumberland View Apartments, or Dodge City Projects, on the north side of Nashville, Tennessee. But what if he was both?
Shoot like a mother over here. About 100 shots that went off.
National 911, what's the address of your emergency?
It's a black sergeant shooting at this car.
There was also an incident a month earlier.
It was two cars that were chasing each other, shooting at each other.
When a chase that began in Cumberland View ended in one car running another off the road a few miles away. Multiple witnesses identified Gideon's Army volunteer Cleveland Shaw, a local gang figure, as the suspect in the case.
I was calling because there was a shootout in Dodge City.
And when a man was shot 2 weeks later, the Gideon's Army volunteer was again identified as the suspect.
Kids, they hiding in somebody's house.
How many shots do you think you heard altogether?
like 100.
Gideon's Army is hoping that a city board meeting here this evening will approve $750,000 in new funding for its efforts to interrupt violence in North Nashville, certainly a worthy goal. But this recently released police investigation concludes that Gideon's Army employee Cleveland Shaw was a big-time drug dealer working out of the same neighborhood where he was hired to keep the peace.
He did that for the community.
What I like about Cleveland.
To try to get the Metro Housing Agency to take Shaw off the ban list, Gideon's Army produced this video showing neighborhood children talking about how Shaw had showered them with money.
He the only one, like, when we don't have money, he give us money, snacks, and he be taking us to the
Even though records showed that in a pending court case, Shaw swore he didn't have a job, didn't make any money, didn't receive government assistance.
Where did you think he was getting his money?
We were paying him, Phil.
This ain't anything. When he showed up after the tornado, where did you think he was getting his money?
We didn't ask because he didn't do that for us.
But then take a look at this video. At 5:28, you see people running from the gunfire. 30 seconds later, a man sprints from the scene. Neighborhood security identified that man as Cleveland Shaw, a longtime gang leader and an employee of Gideon's Army. At 5:29, Shaw runs back into view. This time he's got what security described as an AK-47 style weapon in his hand.
Y'all know about them commercials. I apologize. So let's skip through that real quick.
I would love to have spoken to him and to find out what's going on. That's not how the police operate. That's kind of vigilante type action.
Welcome to the fabulous Cumberland View Apartments, a true gem of North Nashville. Just 5 miles from the neon glow of Lower Broadway, where tourists flood the streets beneath the twinkling lights of honky-tonk guitars, sipping on Tennessee whiskey and dreaming of country stardom, lies another must-see Nashville landmark. If you marveled at the glitz, the glamour, the sheer extravagance of Music City's famous strip, then you'll absolutely adore the exclusive luxury of Cumberland View, better known to his esteemed resident as Dodge City. I really wonder how it got that name. Nestled at 2312 26th Avenue North, this prestigious community boasts classic brick architecture, stunning open-air courtyards, and a social scene rivaling the toughest parts of Philadelphia, Brooklyn, or even Baltimore, where every day is an adventure and only the sharpest minds thrive. So, if unanswered wishes and broken dreams sound like your kind of paradise, then come on through. But in Dodge City, shit just goes a little different.
My son up.
You never know, you know what I'm saying?
I had to move them out of those projects.
Talk to us. Well, why is it known as a snake pit?
My son.
Yeah. Because what a snake pit. They out here. They out here. DCYG. Dodge City Young Gunners.
Young Gunners, stand up. Be stand. Stand up.
Hey, bro, he asked me what's the snake pit. So talk to me. Snake pit.
Get going, man. Get real slamming back here. You gotta watch yourself. Don't come back here playing. Don't come back here bluffing. You better come back. You better come out this bitch on some money and shit. You better come out here trying to make some money or something. Anything else is shit.
You better get some money and die shit. They gonna make you die.
But this scene from the neighborhood back in August reveals another side of Gideon's Army's efforts. Residents decided to make it difficult for police who came there to arrest a convicted killer wanted for violation of his federal probation.
A non-violence group doing in the middle of a shootout in North Nashville with an AK-47 style weapon. Those are among the questions raised by an exclusive News Channel 5 investigation of Gideon's Army, a group that's trying to get another $1 million of taxpayer money for its efforts.
As our chief investigative reporter Phil Williams discovered, the group's leaders later acted as if that shooting had never happened.
My name is Hambino, the true and living God body. And right now what you bearing witness to is Dodge City Project.
This is Hambino Godbody. He's the head of Gideon's Army's violence interruption program in Metro Nashville's Cumberland View Public Housing Development, an area whose violent past gave it the nickname Dodge City.
Because ain't no soft motherfuckers over here. It's real warriors. It's motherfuckers that'll bring you pain. But guess what? 0% violence in almost a year.
In the video posted to social media, Godbody suggests that if there is any violence, it'll come from outside the community.
We know it's outsiders, we know it's haters. It's haters that might want to slide through here. You know what I'm saying? You know? But hey, if you hate on God, just be well, man, because God don't lose.
God don't like
Less than 3 weeks later, as surveillance cameras scattered around the development captured a community quietly enjoying a sunny spring day, the children playing together with seemingly not a care in the world, that calm was shattered.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
Please, can y'all please get the Dodge City, please?
This surveillance video shows area residents running and ducking for cover.
They over shooting like it's over here. About 100 shots that went off.
Instinctively, the children also scatter, some ducking inside, others just running as far as they can, as fast as they can.
My kids, they hiding in somebody's house.
How many shots do you think you heard all together?
When the gunfire stopped, 2 17-year-olds would be wounded.
It's ridiculous. 5 bullets, the bullets and children out here running, and it's ridiculous.
Although neither would cooperate with a police investigation, less than 2 weeks later, the Gideon's Army leader would be back on social media claiming still almost a year with no violence. And after the recent controversial plea bargain of former Metro Police Officer Andrew Delkey for the shooting of Daniel Hambrick, Gideon's Army founder Rashida Fatuga wrote a column arguing that policing is just a way to, quote, control black people. Gideon's Army, on the other hand, she claimed, had experienced no community shootings or any violent crimes on its watch in Cumberland View for 10 months. For Gideon's Army, there should have been no doubt that the shooting on that sunny afternoon back in March occurred during that 10-month period when they were claiming there was no violence. That's because 2 of the group's employees were right there in the middle of it all. This is how Fatuga described the incident back in June.
A few weeks ago, there was an active shooter, and Hambino, our lead violence interrupter, was able to get that situation under control before the police even came because he was in the community. So, and unarmed, completely unarmed.
This grainy surveillance video shows the beginning when shots are first fired. The crowd suddenly scatters. On the sidewalk, a male in a white shirt appears to fire a gun. Out in the street, a second man in white tackles a person dressed in black. They scuffle, but then the gunman from the sidewalk runs over and appears to pull the second man away, leaving the person in black lying in the street.
The big challenge is just getting information.
Detective Devin Morgan says when police got to the scene, no one there admitted to seeing anything.
Which is what they're supposed to do, because y'all ain't going to help. The police out there is not going to do anything. They are no help to that community whatsoever.
You don't miss a shooting like that. It's loud, it's like an explosion. You obviously see things, everybody has a cell phone.
But no one saw anything, supposedly.
No one saw any specific details, just heard shots.
According to an account Guidebody gave the property manager, he tackled one of the alleged shooters, supposedly to protect him and also wait until police arrived. Then another alleged shooter approached Hambino while holding this individual down and was carrying a gun.
We see a person tackling another individual in the street. Could that be Hambino Guidebody?
It could possibly be.
So no one from Gideon's Army came up to officers and volunteered information?
There was no information given. I did not receive one phone call from a citizen.
Was doing there with that
Gideon's
gun.
Army.
Gideon's Army says it's all about making communities safer, but our questions about the mistakes made in their alliance with a prominent gang figure began with questions about the murder of a little girl. The 911 call captured a mother's anguish and a child's trauma.
What's the location?
Back in April, a hail of gunfire shattered the night of Nashville's Cumberland View housing projects, an area known as Dodge City. 3-year-old Jamela Marlowe was one of 3 people caught in the crossfire. Jamela never made it home.
I left my baby at the hospital in a morgue.
R.I.P.
That is not right for a 3-year-old to be in a morgue. At this age, she was an innocent baby.
I just want to pray with y'all all right now. If y'all can bow your heads, close your eyes.
It came on the second night of grief in the neighborhood over the shooting death of a local gang figure. Video from social media shows a visual the night before that had erupted into a gun-waving celebration of life. The deceased man, Cleveland Shaw, was a paid employee of the nonviolence group Gideon's Army.
What we do is we take people who are credible messengers and we mentor them and we help to pull them off the streets and help them to transform their lives. And Cleveland was in that process, but it's a process.
Cleveland is a sacrifice for Dodge City projects.
At Shaw's funeral, Gideon's Army's Hambino Guidebody and other group leaders hailed him as a violence interrupter and a neighborhood hero.
We know the police didn't know part of the law like Cleveland because they don't like black men who know how to carry themselves and protect and provide like their children.
But the truth about the Gideon's Army employee our investigation discovered is much more complicated. Inside the 3-wheel vehicle that Shaw was driving, police found 3 high-powered firearms, even though he was legally prohibited from carrying a weapon because of a domestic violence conviction.
I was under investigation for homicide.
The admitted shooter, Carice Crawford, the estranged boyfriend of Cleveland Shaw's sister, recorded this Facebook Live on his way to meet police, where he told them he shot Shaw in self-defense. Police believe Shaw had also shot up Crawford's car and his mother's house the night before. Fatuga refuses to believe it.
They don't have any video of that, and the dead men tell no tales.
What was his reputation?
He was the shot caller. He was the OG for that gang, and his word was final.
And people feared him?
Yes.
This undercover Metro Police gang detective knew Cleveland Shaw as the money-flashing head of a street gang that called itself the Dodge City Young Gunners, DCYG for short. The song sung at that vigil back in April was a tribute to the gang. The balloons were the gang's colors, part of what police say is the 5-2 or 5 Deuce Hoover Crips. It was the same gang from which Hambino Guidebody came before he was busted in 2012 for trafficking cocaine.
You in a dope gang? You better cash the out right now.
A gang that the Gideon's Army leader just saluted in a Facebook post on May 2nd. 5-2.
DCYG is a very violent street gang here in Nashville. They have no loyalties to anyone else but their own gang.
What is their source of income?
Narcotics and robberies.
According to Gideon's Army, Cleveland Shaw began working as a volunteer in March 2020 after the tornado that hit North Nashville.
But when the tornado happened in Cumberland View, Cleveland was the first person to come with food, to feed the community.
I'm with the Gideon's Army. I'm go check on the office, homie.
Then in October, Gideon's Army put Shaw on the payroll supposedly to keep the peace in the same projects where his criminal activity had resulted in his being banned from the property. And when police arrested Shaw to enforce the no trespassing order, Gideon's Army portrayed him as a victim.
What I'm being arrested for? For what?
a victim of overly aggressive policing. Cleveland Shaw's life ended here along Clarksville Pike in April 2021 in a hail of gunfire. Inside his three-wheel vehicle, police found 3 high-powered weapons. Gideon's Army memorialized the 29-year-old Shaw as a neighborhood hero. A hero who is trying to keep the peace in North Nashville's Cumberland View housing development. But investigators say they looked at Shaw's electronic devices and, quote, there was an abundance of drug-related communication. So much so it's apparent Cleveland was a high-level drug dealer in Nashville, more specifically in the Cumberland View apartments. The report continues, Cleveland's communication details his operation of selling mostly gas, perks, and tabs, which is marijuana, Percocet, and Lortabs, selling from My Spot and referring to his location as The City. That's a reference to the neighborhood's nickname, Dodge City. And, quote, it's apparent MDHA's Cumberland View apartments was Shaw's favorite area for drug sales.
Gideon's Army is an organization of second chances.
Did it ever concern you that Cleveland might be using Gideon's Army?
No. No, not at all.
Gideon's Army founder Rashida Fatuga had defended the alliance with Shaw, who our investigation discovered had headed a street gang known as Dodge City Young Gunners, DCYG for short. After his death, Gideon's Army shared this video where neighborhood children talked about how Shaw had showered them with money.
Where did you think he was getting his money?
We didn't ask because he didn't do that for us. He did that for the community.
Well, Gideon's Army had signed a contract with the city to help improve police relations in the neighborhood. The latest report concludes Shaw had a different agenda. Quote, communication was found where Shaw and others would warn one another about police being in an area.
So previously, I rivaled Dodge City to Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Baltimore. This might sound a little bit crazy, but I'm almost sure there are safer places in those cities than in Dodge City. And I figured out exactly why they call it Dodge City. So watch this. Not far from Dodge City sits another housing project, the James A. Case Homes, which after an expansion in 2017 will become the largest housing project in the city of Nashville, with an estimated 800 housing units. That would make it about 3 times bigger than Dodge City, which from my research shows it has about 226. So with a zip code housing the biggest housing projects and 2 times the people using public housing, you would expect them to have a higher violent crime rate, or probably even the same, but you would be wrong. 37206, the zip code that houses James A. Case. Yes, it does have high violent crime numbers with 71 per 1,000, way above the national average. But in 37208, Dodge City's zip code, the numbers shoot up to 76 incidents per 1,000 people. 5% higher than even the home of the biggest housing projects in the city. And if that doesn't tell y'all why the neighborhood earned its name, coming from me, I'm not sure what the violence level is like right now, today, but in the past, the projects has been a war zone, to the point where I would stumble across an article on the Tennessean where it would mention the neighborhood, where it was saying pretty much bullets fly so much it would be easy to forget that you wasn't at a shooting range. And one of those particular times in those projects was right towards the end of June 2020, going through April of 2021. During that time period, Nashville PD would get an overabundance of shots fired calls to the neighborhood, especially in July of 2020, where it looked like it was 1 week that they called police to the projects for shots fired every single day. And one of those people said to be making it hot in July was allegedly Cleveland Shaw, with authorities linking him to multiple shootings during that time period, including a July 5th, 2020 incident where a man was shot in the leg after it was said 10 people walked up to him and just started shooting, with his name surfacing again 2 weeks later when another man was allegedly shot in the neighborhood. And according to Nashville PD, his name wasn't just popping up in investigations for no reason. According to News 5 in Nashville, I saw places where they called him a high-ranking member, but I also saw places where they would call him a leader of a group called DCYG, or the Dodge City Young Gunners. And according to the Nashville Police Department, the group is classified as a gang, with police alleging that they have deep ties to the Five Deuce Hoover Crips. Allegedly formed in the early 2000s, DCYG is said to have made their name in the city through drug distribution, violent enforcement, and territorial control. News reports suggest that the authorities have been tracking the gang for years, linking certain members to homicides and even large-scale narcotics operations. And based on the police, not only was Cleveland Shaw a prime suspect in some of those shootings, he was also someone using his leadership roles in DCYG, allegedly overseeing a network of drug sales that would flood Dodge City with marijuana, perks, and Lortabs. Before his death, News 5 would allege that he would be heard on wiretaps referencing Cumberland View or Dodge City as his city, as well as discussing drug shipments. During his last days, Cleveland Shaw was definitely a target for law enforcement, but it wouldn't be them that would put an end to his run. With all of the gunfire going on in Dodge City and the multiple shootouts that he was involved in, on top of the large-scale drug operation they said that he was tied into, it's kind of easy to expect his death coming from the hands of a rival at a shootout, or probably exchanging work and the drug deal went bad. But in actuality, it came on some personal shit and some shit that he was kind of only third-party part of. Authorities believe the day leading up to his murder, Cleveland Shaw shot his estranged sister's boyfriend, a guy by the name of Maurice Crawford Sr. And not only did he allegedly do that, they also believe he was the prime suspect in the shooting up of Crawford's mother's house the night prior. And April 7th, 2021 would be the next time the two would cross paths. And that's where authorities would determine that Cleveland Shaw would fire at Maurice Crawford Sr. from his slingshot, with Crawford returning fire, killing him in what authorities would ultimately rule as self-defense, with Cleveland Shaw dying behind the wheel of his slingshot with 3 high-powered firearms on the passenger seat. Now, just to put things in perspective like I do, and show you that the universe plays out how it wants to, the authorities will portray Cleveland Shaw as a high-ranking, gun-toting, money-getting gang leader, but the man he lost his life to and that walked free just 3 years after he killed Cleveland Shaw would be allegedly arrested for breaking a window at McDonald's because his order was wrong. Watch what you get into and who you be around, Playboy. Y'all make sure y'all hit the red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all make sure y'all tap in with me directly on Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. And until the next play, y'all know how we rocking. Shades pop a lot.
And I want to hear y'all thoughts on that video, whether y'all liked it or not, how y'all feel about it. I'm just now hearing the whole story because I was in Rhode Island when they killed my dog, man. I was in Rhode Island for 2 years and I came back and I was looking for my nigga, not knowing this had happened. And I heard it to the grapevine that my dude was gone. It hurt me. like, share, subscribe. Go check out the full version on Mob Ties, Pop a Lot. I appreciate that video, man. Thank you for showing support to Cashville 615 Nashville Stand Up. We out. Love you, nigga.